Hey everyone, welcome back to Harry Potter Folklore, and man do I have a pretty crazy what if scenario for you all today. Now you've probably guessed by the title that we are going to change Harry's destiny today and work out what would actually happen if he turned evil and joined Voldemort. Well, even if you don't want to believe he'd turn evil, we're still going to work out what would happen if he joined Voldemort, and maybe for those of you who are really against it, we're going to go full force with this. We are all pretty much aware that it would take a lot for Harry to join the man that killed his parents, along with so many others, but what if that was the case? What if Harry had been so frustrated with everything in his life up until that point? What if he carried huge resentment to those who hid him away from the Wizarding World and condemned him to the rather questionable upbringing? No, I can't even use that to describe it. Miserable. It was an absolute miserable upbringing for him, and Harry finally decides to claim power and become a commanding presence alongside the Dark Lord. Now that is the only somewhat logical explanation for why I believe he turned his back on everyone, because as I said, it's highly unlikely, but in this video he has. So let's get straight into it. Let's get to the point. The final straw for Harry is realizing that he was just a pawn in Dumbledore's plan to defeat the Dark Lord. He was, as the quote goes, raised like a pig for slaughter. He feels as if he has no value to anyone, only to contribute to victory regardless of whether he lives or dies. He decides to proposition the Dark Lord, and to everyone's complete shock, the Dark Lord accepts. Voldemort knows that with Harry in his ranks, it would absolutely destroy the morale of the opposition. So the Wizarding World is thrown into chaos. The unlikely alliance would completely disrupt the power balance and create a new, even more dangerous threat to the magical community than ever before. How could Harry Potter, the chosen one, the boy who lived, join the person he was born to destroy? Nature's attempt to even the odds has failed. Voldemort would have likely seen Harry's power and skill as a valuable asset to his cause and would have attempted to manipulate and control him. He's not exactly going to sit there and have a beer. However, there is a slight sense of doubt to some of the Death Eaters that Harry, on the other hand, may have only joined Voldemort out of a sense of desperation or as a means to an end, with the hope of ultimately finding a way to defeat him from the inside. Ultimately, the Wizarding World, the Wizarding community, would not take kindly to this alliance. There would be outrage amongst shock. Many of Harry's former friends and allies and the Ministry of Magic would likely step in, take action in order to stop him. This would put Harry in an even more dangerous and precarious position, as he would now be torn between his loyalty to Voldemort and his desire to protect the Wizarding community, which, despite his actions, was what he truly wanted. As the unlikely alliance continued, Harry and Voldemort's relationship would likely become increasingly strained and tense, with Harry constantly battling his own inner demons and struggling to maintain his own moral code. The alliance would probably end in a climatic and devastating battle, as it originally did, but with the outcome determining the fate of the Wizarding World, except this time, Harry is on the opposite side. The union between he and Voldemort would have created a complex and hazardous situation, filled with so much uncertainty and tension, and would have had far-reaching consequences for the Wizarding World. Let's just continue to take a look at the reaction from everybody. So the Wizarding World would be thrown into a state of shock and confusion. Harry Potter, who previously had been seen as a hero and a symbol of hope, would now be viewed as I said, a traitor and a threat. The Wizarding community would be completely divided, with many of Harry's former friends and allies feeling extremely confused, and others viewing his alliance with Voldemort as a desperate ploy to achieve a joint outcome. Harry would eventually become one of Voldemort's most trusted allies and would be tasked with leading his forces and carrying out his orders. Voldemort would continue to attempt to manipulate and control Harry, as I previously mentioned, using him as a pawn in his quest for domination and control over the Wizarding World, similar to what Dumbledore did. However, Harry would not be easily controlled. Despite his dark union with Voldemort, Harry Potter would still have his own values and would likely to continue to struggle and reconcile these, maintaining his loyalty to Voldemort. He would struggle to absorb the knowledge that his actions may be causing harm and suffering to those he once swore to protect. He questioned himself multiple multiple times, but believed that what he was doing would bring a means to an end. So the Ministry of Magic would now begin to enforce action against Harry and Voldemort. I previously mentioned that they were considering it, they were going to have to step in, and now they are. They're taking action. So they see Harry and Voldemort's alliance as an even bigger threat to the wizarding world than ever before. They would work gathering their own forces, mobilise their aurors in an effort to what was revealing itself to be a devastating impending loss. This would create a very dangerous situation, with Harry now caught in the middle and torn between two sides. He had Voldemort on one end and the people he once held most dear on the other. As the two wizards continued to work together, the media dubbed it as the Dark Union. Tensions would rise, and the previously strained relationship between Harry and Voldemort would now become stronger as several missions carried out under the latter's leadership were very successful, highly successful, earning the respect of several Death Eaters. However, despite this, Harry was the good guy for years. He fought Voldemort for years, so actions and motives would be constantly scrutinised, and he would be forced to constantly prove his loyalty to Voldemort on behalf of the Death Eaters, you could say. The Dark Lord, although pleased with Harry's contributions, would never see him as his equal. That was never going to happen. But when would victory be secure? When everyone is dead. Voldemort loudly proclaims to a rapturous response and a grin from Harry. Everyone on both sides would have seen their character tested, and it was certain that the course of history would be changed forever, along with the lives of all of those involved. Ron and Hermione can't bring themselves to accept the situation, which limits their effectiveness stopping Voldemort, because that means they have to stop Harry. Ron believes in his heart that Harry is still on their side and is sacrificing his own reputation to defeat Voldemort from the inside, from within. Many of Harry's former friends and allies would have likely tried to find a way to reach out to him, hoping to bring him back to the side of the good and help him see the error of his ways. Not just Ron and Hermione, as I mentioned. Neville Longbottom, for example, cannot see the process, how Harry can stand beside the woman who tortured his parents, something he confided into Harry. On the other hand, some would view him as a lost cause and see no choice but to stop him by any means necessary. New alliances would be formed and old ones would be broken as the community banded together to face the powerful threat. The Ministry of Magic would be forced to work with other magical organisations and communities to find a way to defeat Voldemort and Harry, a task that would require great sacrifice and courage. As I mentioned, the outcome of the conflict would have had far-reaching consequences for the wizarding world. What do I mean? Well, it's kind of impossible to predict exactly what would have happened, but it is clear that the wizarding world would have been forever altered by Harry's betrayal. Additionally, he would have been likely required to carry out further orders and actions that went against his own personal beliefs and values. This would have included killing or injuring individuals who were once his friends or allies, as well as engaging in acts of violence and destruction against the wizarding community. Harry had never spoken the words Avada Kedavra. He was afraid to because of his lack of desire to kill anyone, and that would have left him barefaced and his loyalty would have been questioned once again. The weight of these actions would have been a very heavy burden for Harry to bear. His internal conflict would have created a deep sense of guilt and remorse, and Harry may have truly struggled to reconcile his actions with his own moral code. Continuing with having to fight wand against wand, as Harry continued to work with Voldemort, he would have been likely forced to face individuals who were once very important to him, including members of the Order of the Phoenix and even the Weasley family. This could have led to intense and emotionally charged confrontations in this fictional scenario. There you have it, everyone. That is my take on what would happen if Harry joined Voldemort. Tell me how you feel in the comment section below. Do you like seeing Harry as a villain? Did it just feel wrong? I want to know. Thanks again, and make sure to look out for my next video.